Hello and welcome to the Irn-Cru podcast, the American football podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. You are listening to and you're watching the 2025 Draft Review Crew with myself, your host Craig, and co-host Danny. It's just the two of us tonight, so you get to enjoy the two of us having a right good blather about all things NFL draft, everything that unfolded over the weekends. And we'll do a wee bit of a dive into some of the highlights, give you some of our thoughts, and we'd love to hear some of your questions as well. So get onto all their socials, give us a wee shout out if you've got any questions draft related. I say we'll have a right good blather and get stuck in. Like I said, I am joined by Danny. Danny, how you doing, bud?
I'm good, pal. How are you?
I'm grand. I was just... I was getting my NFL fix over the weekend. Like, now that the draft's finished, you're kind of getting a wee bit excited for the season to start. And then I had to check how long exactly is it until the NFL kicks off again. Do you want to know?
No, I don't want to know that. You'll make me sad. All right, then. Tell us.
It's only 139 days until the NFL kicks off again. That's not that long. Not too long.
That's brutal, to be honest, isn't it?
If you want to make it sound like it's not even that far away, it's only 200,000 minutes. That's it.
Right, no, I'm
kicking off in no time.
I'm just going to have to watch reruns of like Super Bowl 49 and 51 on repeat to then just to get my fix. Hopefully, we're not waiting too long before. Hopefully, a decent Hard Knocks comes out. Has that even been announced? Did they say there's going to be a team? Because, well,
I'm not sure.
Let's face it, there's only one team we want to see in Hard Knocks this postseason.
Absolutely.
There's a quarterback room that I'm dying to see.
There's only one QB room that I want to be a fly on the wall in. Let's put it that way. I'm going to be very excited to see what comes out from Hard Knocks, what team it's going to be. But like we said, the dust is settled on the 2025 draft. There is loads to chat about, loads to have a blather about. So we all knew what was going to happen. Number one overall pick, no surprises. Number one overall.
Who went?
Cam Ward's gone to the Titans.
Oh, that's right. Just the press coverage on him going number one overall has been absolutely pathetic. Barely hit the guy.
Exactly.
That may actually play in his favour. You know, it seems like the pressure's off of him. He's just happy away, picking up his paycheck in the background.
Well, exactly. I mean, if you're a quarterback, any other quarterback, I think, in the draft, you're going to be breathing a bit of a sigh of relief because, the press coverage relating to Sanders has been off the chart. Like, for all through round one of the draft and round two, it was one of these sagas that the longer it went on, you were just like, how is this exactly going to pan out? And it panned out in probably the most unexpected way as well. In terms of where he ended up going. The fact that Cleveland, of all teams, ended up drafting him, absolutely did not see that coming.
To be honest, by the end of it, I was scunnered, man. I was fed up hearing the guy's name. I don't watch a huge amount of college football, but after the Super Bowl, you've got to get your fix somewhere. So you dive in to watch video, go to YouTube, scrolling through TikTok and stuff like that, and you see clips coming up, and you think, he's a decent player, but the hype about him has just been off the charts. But then again, I can't help but think that's self-made as well. The hubris of him to be in a bloody self-built bloody draft room. So if he spent more time his head in a playbook and fitness and less on trying to build his brand and this legendary crap and his wee dollar symbols and stupid bling chains and bloody everything else. I don't know if you've seen it. There was a video that came out I don't know when it came out. It was a while ago, but it was your man and Cam Ward side by side, and he's telling Cam Ward, "Oh, you want to drop a rhyme and drop a song or something like that," and Cam Ward's like, "I just want to be known as a football player. I've just played football. I'm only for this." And again, that's the mentality you need to be at the very top. Drop the brand Sanders, the Shador nonsense, focus on that, and he might have actually found himself going a wee bit early. But I'll try and give him a wee bit of credit when it comes to that stuff, though, because he's still a young lad. Who was blowing smoke up his arse? Who was in his ear hole? I blame his old boy. I blame his manager, his agent, and everybody else running about him. They should have been focused on your game. Go work on your mechanics. Go work on your, reading defence, holding on the ball too, or whatever he needs to do to progress and get better. That's what he should have been focusing on. Not his own damn brand. So there's a bit of.
Totally agree. Couldn't agree more. It's optics. We talk about players and how they need to win over not only the organisation, but win over your fan base, win over your fans of the team that you've gone to. Show a bit of humility, show a bit of gratitude and everything else. And if it was my team, if Sid Sanders had gone to the Vikings, I'm looking for somebody that the first thing they do is they're going to talk about how hard they're going to work, how they're going to put everything on the line for the team, how they're going to be, like you said, in the playbook and everything else. I don't want to see a guy drafted and then the first thing he does is throw a massive party showing off cases, whatever it was, Gucci cases full of money, all this kind of nonsense. It's just bad optics. It's not the kind of thing that you want. And the thing about his dad with all the interviews beforehand, him saying there's teams that I will not give him permission to go to and all of this. It's just come on, let the guy's got to make his own path for himself here. You've been there, you've done that. I get it. You want what's best for him, but the whole thing, the whole saga, the rumoured interview feedback was not a good look. And I don't know how much truth there is in all of that. There's all these leaks of, turned up to interviews and just had the headphones in, or was asked, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Oh, mayor of this town, all of these things. You don't know how much of this is actually true. So you've got to take all these things with a wee bit of a pinch of salt. But at the same time, there's been a lot of stuff coming out, and you think, well, there's no smoke without fire when it comes to a lot of these things.
There was somebody actually mentioned they thought it was Brian Daboll at one point, was the leak of it. And now we've seen last year there was that pre-season Hard Knocks or whatever it is, and we've seen exactly Brian Daboll quizzing Drake May and Caleb Williams and Jalen Daniels, and he went through them all. Okay, how do you scheme up this play? What would you do in this situation? Rhymed off a massive play. Okay, read that back to me. What does this mean? You've got to know your shit. You've got to be on the ball to be able to do that. And how many of these guys do they see now? That's only a couple, right? They've got a top 30 visit every single year. How many of these uppity jumpstart wee guys have they seen come in every single year and get the exact same spiel? Now, do you want that for your quarterback? Absolutely not. So, I think it's all there. Again, I don't think it's necessarily his fault. I think he's played up to the hype that's been built around about him. To be honest, I'm honestly sick of hearing his name. For a 5th round pick, I'm happy for him. If he wins the QB room and that massive QB room in Cleveland, then fair play to him, right? We'll talk about him when he's a starter. To be honest, after sort of this, I'll be glad if I don't hear his name again. Listen to the Mel Kipers of the world and the Stephen, the Smiths and all these other clowns, I'm bored. The fact that even Trump was asked about it, just get a break, lads, come on. And people had the cheek to try and put racial undertones to it and stuff like that as well, forgetting that Cam Ward went number 1. It's nothing to do with that.
Exactly.
A wee guy with a bad attitude get smacked in a wee bit and put in his box. And let's face it, Shador, if he was in last year's draft, nobody would be talking about him in the 1st round at all. And it wouldn't be, if you're seeing him then based on talent alone, it wouldn't be in the top probably 8 quarterbacks taking. So I said, let's put it in the context of his draft. He wasn't actually that good at a player. Maybe he can develop. He does have raw talent, but we'll just need to see it plays out. But I honestly bored him.
It could be a genius move by the Browns. I don't know. I think, let's be honest, they've not got the best track record when it comes to quarterbacks and quarterback rooms. You've now got a bit of a mess going on there. You've got Sanders. they've got Gabriel that they drafted, plus you've got Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, and Watson. Okay, he's injured out for the season. Probably never going to chuck a ball for Cleveland again, but it's still there's a crowded quarterback room there, and how everything shakes down through pre-season and everything else. Eventually, they're going to whittle down that roster, and we'll see who ends up taking the starter job week one.
And we'll see how that plays out. Let's move on.
Exactly. Anyway, let's talk about something else.
So we get something else. Oh, there we go. There's a comment in there. Craig,
Cam Ward will flop. Paul's said Cam Ward's going to flop. Jackson Dart will be the best QB for draft. Let's talk about Jackson Dart. Let's talk about the G-men. You want to talk about the Giants and Dart? What do you reckon about the G-men? They've gone pretty defensive heavy, but obviously you've got Dart in there as well. He's got potential to go in there and do well. There's no doubt. Like the Giants, they've added Abdul Carter, Darius Alexander as well. So like they've gone in defense first, but you've now got a QB room with Russell Wilson plus Jackson Dart. I'm interested to see how that works. I think you've got a good mix of talented rookie and experience there. I think that could be a good landing spot for him.
I know, definitely a big thanks to Paul for his comment. And to me, it's very hard to know how these players. None of us have crystal balls. We don't know how they're going to play out. Who would have seen Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy or Tom Brady at 9? How many first overall picks do we see completely flop? We can back to the James Winston and God, I forget the other lad who's picked in that one. It's floated about the league a bit as well, But it's not guaranteed going number one overall, particularly in this. Again, if Cam Ward was in last year's draft, where would he fall? Maybe with the 7th overall pick. You take Bo Nix ahead of him, maybe in that same sort of level. There's a lot of the buzz is coming about Cam Ward though. A lot of people are saying, they think he is maybe the second coming of Patrick Mahomes, but let's put the brakes on that one.
Yeah, maybe let's not get carried away.
I think the Jackson Dart thing's been fascinating though, because he just seemed to be this last minute, just sprung up through the draft boards and the mock drafts, and all of a sudden there's a big buzz about him. And I've just been wondering about the added pressure on him. The fact that it was a double dip in the first round by the Giants to get and pick him. What they gave away for him. They've obviously got a lot of trust in him, and I do think he's got a lot of the characteristics that you do want from a starting quarterback. It's just whether again can they handle the pressure of New York and that city and the media that's on there and how intense it is and that fan base and how passionate they are. That can make a lot of top athletes crumble. How many quarterbacks have we seen come and go through New York since, probably since Joe Namath and the Jets and since, Eli with the Giants, a lot of people. So it'll be interesting to see how he actually copes with that and copes with that added pressure of them giving up so much draft capital in the future to move into that space.
Yeah, but he's going to a team with a massively talented wide receiver as well. Like they drafted Neighbours, who had a fantastic season last year. So there's obviously weapons there for him, and I think the Giants will be a very different team. They did a very poor season last year. I think they were with 3-14 last year, something like that. It was not. With what they've done on the defensive side, plus a complete overhaul at the quarterback side of things as well. Yeah, I think there's reason to be a bit more optimistic as a Giants fan for sure. So there's so many other teams like that as well, where you've either got a completely different quarterback room, or there's a number of teams where they are really trying to build, and this probably leads quite nicely to talk about your own team here. Teams that drafted a quarterback that's shown massive promise, and they need to start building on top of that. This is like, year 2 of the rebuild plan, where you've got your key quarterback in place. You've seen what they can do. Let's now piece together key players around that. And there's loads of teams in the NFL doing that exact same thing. Obviously, the Patriots with Drake May, the Bears with Caleb Williams. You've got Jaden Daniels at Washington. My own team, the Vikes, slightly different with McCarthy because we never actually got to see him last season. So this is kind of him going into what is effectively his rookie season, even though he's drafted the year before. But loads of teams picking up all these key pieces. But yeah, I guess on the subject of teams and drafting pieces around, like, what was your thoughts on your own team?
I'm trying. How do I say this so it's still family friendly? I liked it a lot. Right. I was.
You were quite pleased with it.
I was delighted. I think just look at it. They kind of stuck to a plan. They knew what they needed. They seemed to tackle every sort of position of need. They picked up. There's been as much as we have enjoyed the Patriots over the last 20 years, so much success. There's been a lot of frustration when it came to draft. We were often the team who was seen to have overdrafted or reached for so many positions. Whether it's a Cole Strange or if it's I'm trying to think Aaron Dobson back in the day, or N'Keal Harry, or Isaiah Wynn. All these first rounders that just came and gone with it. But so it seemed to be this time they just never overthought it. Okay, we big gap in our, when Travis Hunter is away and Abdul Carter's away, there was a big drop off. I think then after that was your two blue chip players. After that, there's a bigger question mark over a lot of them. Okay, what was our position in need? Well, okay, we need to protect Drake May. Okay, go and get the best left tackle in the draft by consensus. Now, whether he pans out to be that, whether he's a T-Rex and get wee tiny arms, and he's not going to block if they have him move him and say a guard, but at least they've addressed it and went for it. It was a big thing during free agency. It was well known we were going after Ronnie Stanley. That never panned out. Okay, so next one up. Then, okay, I was a bit surprised we took Trevion Henderson at number 38. I thought I'd have loved Luther Burden, the third in there. I think we need a wide receiver. And I think for a running back to go in that position, you've got to be sure what you're getting. But by all accounts, for what I've seen, he looks like a really explosive player, an absolute great running back. We had Chris Ballard, the Colts GM, this week saying that he is one of the best pass blocking running backs. Take him out of college and God knows how long. So I think they've done a lot of great pieces. Kyle Williams, their running back. I think we get the steal of the whole draft in Brian Swinson. And so, I kind of get through who I managed to pick up. We got him in he was ranked actually the second round. We got him 146th, absolute steal. So, no, really delighted with what they've done. But again, you just don't know how all these got to pan out. I think if they pan out the way they should, I think we're in a great position. And we look at the growth through free agency. Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted with what they've done.
The offensive pickups plus, say, the defense side of the ball, you've got a lot of balance there now. You've got the pickups that you made prior to the draft as well. Obviously, one of the key ones was Stephon Diggs coming in at wide receiver. But there's so many other players in your team that the Patriots have already wanted to build around. Guys like Stevenson, running back. You've got fantastic tight end in Hunter Henry as well. There's a lot of key pieces there already, and hopefully building on that.
I kind of look at it and go, I don't think there's actually too many positions where I don't see an upgrade. There's an overhaul of the offensive line. We're upgraded to running backs, wide receivers. Matt Collins, Stephon Diggs, Kyle Williams. Big difference there. And defensively, our defensive front to me looks absolutely terrifying. We've got in there with Melvin Williams, we've got Big Keon White. We've added in all these other pieces. We've got Harold Landry in a linebacker. We've got Kaysen in there. We've got even cornerback Gonzalez now linked up with what's his name? We took Davis as well. So I'm absolutely chuffed. But I guess, what was there any other first round surprise or just general surprises? What was the ones that you thought?
I think the bold move by the Jags to move up to pick 2 was interesting. They've got a really young GM. He's only 34, which made me feel really old. when you've got a guy 6 years younger than you that's GM of an NFL team and making pretty ballsy moves like that, I was like, yeah, that makes me feel pretty old. But the Jags was definitely one I was Slightly surprised at. But
did you actually think it was a good move? Sorry, did you think that was actually a good move? What would you have done? Right, okay, you go back 6 years and you're now him or whatever it is. Like, would you have actually made that move? Because I find it baffling that they made that decision. I genuinely, okay, I looked at it, right. Their over under, right, prior to the draft was 7.5 wins. What do you think it was after the draft?
Has it been a massive jump? A significant?
Not
No.
7.5. It didn't move one iota. So they gave
Right.
up all that draft capital and a number one
And
pick next year not to go ahead.
aye.
A great player, but
It's a lot, yeah. It's
is
a
he going
lot
to
to
move
give
the
up.
dial?
Yeah,
You know?
I totally agree. I think that the first next year is it's a lot, and that's a big risk, especially when you're, say, coming into this organisation and you're a new GM. You obviously want to try and show that you're putting your stamp on things, but yeah, it is a lot to give up. But in saying that, like Travis Hunter is a really intriguing player, like somebody that has that amount of intelligence and talent to understand and to play on both sides of the ball like that, and to be able to say whether that will translate to NFL level and continue. That I think is going to be really, really intriguing to see what exactly happens. You're learning the playbook on both sides like that. That takes a lot for a player to do, like physically and mentally. That's a huge demand on anybody.
Do you trust the Jags though to actually
do I trust
nurture them and actually look after him and not just burn him out in the first 2 seasons and they end up, a massive drop off like or something like that because he's now played 100 snaps a week or something.
Well, this is it. Yeah,
I guess.
You see a lot of players that you ask the same thing about, like either as a running back, for example, like a Belka running back that's playing like so many snaps, like again and again and again, and you think, oh, hang on a minute, this can't be sustainable. For a player like that, like James Gladstone, you say he's put a lot on the line to pick him up. So he obviously has a lot of belief in him and believes that he's the right fit for the Jags. And the Jags again are one of these teams where they've got obviously a quarterback. It wasn't too long ago we were talking about teams tanking for Trev. Lawrence has been in the league a long time now. They are giving him as much as possible to succeed. There's not a lot of room for excuses now going forward.
So flashes and glimpses,
yeah.
but you need to actually produce now. For the hype that came out about him, as he just got to stay a mid-level NFL quarterback, which is fine, serviceable. But the hype that came out, well, we're not seeing that same level yet. So,
absolutely.
What was your? Is there a team out there this draft you liked? Who's the one team you're kind of like actually give them a bit of kudos? I can give you a minute to think, right? I'll give you.
Okay. I mean,
I came prepared. I came planned. I had a team up my sleeve, ready to go. And it's a team that we don't actually talk much about, and it's the Cardinals, right? I loved their draft.
Okay.
I think they needed to hammer defense, and the fact that they can go and get Walter Nolan in there, and then they get Will Johnson in the second round, which is an absolute steal. Now, again, he might have some questions about him and his health and stuff like that, but I think they had a brilliant draft. So, yeah, I'm going to give them a wee bit of kudos there, and well done to the Cardinals. What about yourself?
Well, I was intrigued when the Vikes lost Sam Darnold and he went to Seattle. I obviously will be interested to follow Seattle and find out like how their season progresses with him at quarterback. But I thought that I was listening to a couple of other podcasts throughout this week and talking about teams that we felt had done well in the draft, and Seattle certainly had a well-balanced draft. There's plenty of other teams as well that I think did quite well. So we mentioned the Giants earlier on. I really liked Cam Scatbo that they picked up at running back. I love his backstory, and I think the Giants will be a team that will do particularly or should show a huge amount of improvement for sure in this coming season. There's other teams that had glaringly obvious needs, like the Bengals badly needing a defense. Offensively, they scored points all day long last season, but easily leaked just as many. There's plenty of teams that had glaringly obvious needs in what they had to do in that draft to try and improve upon their shortcomings last season. Thought Atlanta as well. They're in an interesting position. Obviously, you've got Michael Penix at QB there. The Cousins situation last year didn't pan out the way they expected to, but they had a few pretty good pickups as well.
I've got to give them some plaudits for the boldness. I just don't know. Again, was it James Pierce? Was that who they traded back into the first round for double dip, essentially edge defenders? Now, I like it because, like you said, they needed it and they never do it. But again, for a future first round pick, I think it went to the Rams. Again, how much is that going to shift the needle? How much is that really going to move it? And was it really worth it? But again, time will tell. But I a bit like the Jags, I appreciate the boldness. Go for it. You might as well try and win now. So
100%.
Yeah, and I guess it's just another side note as we've got to is the Green Bay and their draft. It happened. I'm sure it was like, oh man, as soon as they took a wide receiver in the first round, Matthew Golden finally was it the first time they've taken one since Javon Walker in the 2002 draft. First time they've taken a wide receiver. So see how that. Never know. It's another rookie wide receiver that's probably going to get injured. That seems to happen to the Packers quite a bit. So
they certainly. I thought the draft at Lambeau Field. It was pretty entertaining. Obviously, big home support there, so huge amount of interest to see who the Packers were going to pick. And throughout the draft, there was a lot of interest. But the one thing that later on the draft I was really want to talk about was Baron Sorrell having to wait until day 3, like the last player in the green room, stayed it out till day 3, like could have easily just called it quits and gone home. But see the fact that he waited it out that long, it shows a lot of mental toughness to do that. When you're the only person left, you can't guarantee that you're going to get picked up. And probably throughout in his mind, he's thinking, am I just going to get left here and be ridiculed? But to get that moment and then to get picked by the Packers, with the draft being at Lambeau, and then I thought it was quite nice as well that Roger Goodell comes out, the commissioner says, "Look, this guy's been here a long time. This is his big moment." I really, really like that, and it pains me to say this as a Vikes fan, but I will definitely be kind of rooting for him just for that reason alone, like the fact that he waited it out and to get that wee moment. I thought that was pretty cool.
I'd have preferred if he had a bag of cans in the back and he was just trying one on every pick. He had his own drinking game kind of going in the background there, just comes out absolutely steaming. Just like you forgot about me. Hey, woo.
By day 4, he's just into day 3, he's just like in a sleeping bag, and it's just like empty cans around him, and like the camera just like cuts them, and like somebody's like poking him, saying, "You get picked."
That's what would happen if they had the draft in Scotland, which, by the way, we should petition for. I think that'd be class. Imagine them all just walking out half cut with a bottle of bucket, which I guess is a nice segue.
I was going to say, speaking of drafts in Scotland. We had a Scottish draft moment, first time ever that a draft pick was announced live from Scotland, which was pretty cool for the New York Jets. And we had with the Stoltman brothers, the strong men themselves, announcing the Jets pick live from Scotland. Pretty cool moment. I don't know how much money they had to pay to put them in green and white to announce that.
Good lads.
But fair play.
Okay, I was at a nice moment and stuff like that. I just can't help but think, surely we could have got somebody better than that. You've got Idris Elba and Hollywood D-list stars, and we've got a couple of guys who, until they actually popped up in my work like last year sometime, I had no idea who they were, to be honest. So it would have been nice, I don't know, just get somebody in there. I don't know who. We could have, I'm sure we could have found somebody to do it.
Yeah.
But no, again, I think they could. Can you imagine, actually? It would be actually classed to have a draft in Scotland. I think we could put on a great show.
Aye, absolutely. Why not? Why not? We could. I don't know where. If you were holding the draft, where would you hold it in Scotland? Hydro?
No,
Somewhere
somewhere more exotic, somewhere like, I don't know, down the Gorbals in Glasgow or something like that, or Sucky Hall Street. You can just watch a couple of heads run by and he did there. So, you know, lobbing dog shit at you. Roger Goodell would get pelted with eggs or something. It wouldn't even...
We could do it in the Barras, actually. That'd be quite good. Live from the Barras, the NFL draft.
Actually, but the Barras themselves are in the Barra and the Barras.
Not like the actual Barras, so that you've got like guys flogging like the knockoff NFL gear. There's already guys selling the DVD of it, and it hasn't even started yet. That's what you want.
Could you imagine though? That'd be tremendous. Let's see all the videos that go viral, like the mad jakies and junkies are all dancing to the buskers on like the Argyle Street and stuff like that. That would be tremendous. Just for all these Americans, like, what's going on here?
Oh man, be good fun.
See that's right. The way it's gone. I know he listens, Commissioner Goodell. If you're listening, just come and speak to us, right? We'll set you up here. We've got it all planned.
Producer Keith chipped in with the Klansman.
Bobby.
Bobby the barman. The pick walks into the Klansman, and it's just like Bobby the barman behind the bar. Every time I pick him, just slags him off.
I'm sure there's a plain pun here about 2 pints prick or picks. Two
pick, yeah.
This one out,
aye. We'll come back to that. That'll be the title. That'll be the title of this pod. 2 picks prick.
2 picks prick.
Right, we'll move on. What else do we want to have a wee talk about? Let's see. Any other nuggets? Any other like standouts? Anyone else in the draft that caught your eye, or you think, oh man, I really wish we'd picked them?
There's quite a few. I love what the Texans done at wide receiver. Love the 2 Iowa State wide receivers. I particularly like Jalen Noel. I think that was a class pickup. I actually really wanted him at the Patriots. I think I mentioned them in the pre-draft show. So I think by them picking up Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel was given where Tank is, his massive injury, who good knows who he's going to be.
I don't know how he's going to be.
I think they did. They had a great draft. I really liked.
Instant chemistry there as well. Well, the fact that playing together already, like that instant, like that familiarity is going to
exactly.
Transfer straight away. You're not having to, you're not getting a brand new teammate straight away. So hopefully, in terms of hitting the ground running, that's going to be a massive thing. And you're absolutely right. Like the Texans were, they were really, really unlucky with injury on that side. There's nothing you can do about that. But again, they're a team that have shown lots of promise. There's already bags of talent there. They've got a quarterback who, last year maybe didn't quite hit the heights of the season prior to that, but is still with the right players around him is still going to be absolutely brilliant to watch this year. So having those 2 come in as another 2 weapons, going to be pretty good to see what happens.
Yeah, the other one I kind of liked, I thought was really good value, was Tyler Warren falling so far to the Colts. Was it 14th, 15th? Something about that range. I thought it was an absolute bargain. Obviously, bit of surprise the Bears took my porn star name, Courtney Loveland. Wow. Yeah, obviously taking him first as the first tight end off the board, but I think them going there's absolute incredible value. So I think that was my sort of 2 top picks.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm just looking at the you mentioned the coach. I said Tyler Warren, tight end. They picked at 14. Was their first pick in the first round. Just looking down this, I'm looking down the round one, and we've covered Cam Ward at the Titans, Travis Hunt the Jags, Abdul Carter for the Giants, Pats. The Browns came in at 5 with Mason Graham. Obviously, we know what they did later on. They passed 4 or 5 times on Sanders before eventually picking up. Another player, just Ashton Jeanty going to the Raiders. I was really high on him before the draft started. I think he could do really, really well. And obviously, the Raiders, you get Pete Carroll there now. The kind of team that they're kind of pieced together. You've got the Brady influence there as well in the Raiders side of things. But Jeanty could be a really, really exciting player to watch as well. I'll be interested to see how he transitions into the NFL.
Raiders have a feeling of like a bit of grown-up team again, don't they?
Yeah. Well, last season, yeah, they didn't. I think having an experienced head like Carroll there is going to make a difference. And obviously, Geno Smith going across there at the same time. The two of them know each other extremely well from the time in Seattle. So you'd like to think that that's going to be a pretty solid foundation. And then again, just building key pieces around that. And yeah, a grown up within the organization. It didn't really have that feel a lot last year. There was a few background issues, shall we say. Hopefully that's all been kind of dealt with, and yeah, it feels like they've kind of steadied the ship a wee bit, doesn't it?
It does. So, you get any memorable moments where you, for the draft smudge, where you anything that particularly caught your eye on the stage, off the stage? What about the fans? What about that crowd? Was it 250,000?
Aye. On day one, it was insane. Just like the sheer amount of fans that turned out for the draft was incredible, and even all the way through to day 3. It looked brilliant. The sun was shining. Everyone out having a great time. Every single team represented. And I quite liked it. But you just see as well, like obviously the NFL's reach across everywhere. You know, we're sat here in Scotland having a blather about the draft. The number of countries that it reaches now, the number of different countries announcing picks. Was brilliant to see. There's so many other international games happening this season. So like the reach of the NFL continues to grow, and the fan bases never disappoint. It was brilliant to see. Always the drafts always where you see like the diehard fans, the ones that like they're all dressed up, they're really into it. I love seeing that, especially when you've got a fan like that announcing the picks and then you're next year all the boos and stuff like that. I love all of that, especially the ones like if it's an Eagles fan, saying like they're the world champion Philadelphia Eagles select, everyone else is booing them and stuff like that. I love the pantomime aspect of it. The fact that the fans just soak it all up as well.
They know how to put on a show. When 250,000 people show up for 4 hours of it, which is literally somebody reading out 32 names, it's quite impressive. But no, the reach is amazing. Like I said, hopefully it's showing that there's going to be an extension of the international games. Because I've been following this sport for 20 odd years. You can see just how much has grown here, and then when you're seeing games in Brazil, and before it's going to be a global, in Asia, Australia, all through Europe.
It wouldn't surprise us if say we've seen it go from 16 games to 17. Wouldn't be any great surprise to see that get extended further to try and accommodate the increased number of international games. If they're going up to 16, then and expanding it further, if they want to break into Asia, like we were saying there, they're going to have to look at ways to do that, creative ways to do that.
Well, if the reports are right, and Goodell himself is saying that he's want to expand it up to 16 games, now, how long before we're going to see maybe a Super Bowl abroad? Again, let's face it. My concern with that be it ends up in Saudi Arabia or something like that, and it's just it's just
like a World Cup.
Throw money at it, and it just becomes a wee bit, sterile and a bit, kind of corporate and stuff, a bit of sellout sort of thing. But it'd be great to see that elsewhere. But again, maybe we may end up seeing a draft taking place in the Gorbals in Glasgow. So it could happen. That's the road we're going.
Both extremes.
I meant to say, did you see the thing before the draft where all the residents of Green Bay, Wisconsin, were basically selling their driveways for $100 for the day? So the odd signs,
to park or whatever.
The odd signs in their driveway, you can park here for $100, and they're saying, that's brilliant. I love that stuff. Why not capitalise on it? And for $100 a day parking, that's fairly decent. You would
correct. You could see that easily happening in the Gobbles as well. Like just leave your car here and then come back and it's on a pile of bricks.
For you, mate. Watch your motor for a $5. Just to have all the time and going into Celtic games. You say no, you're getting your windies tanned.
Aye, exactly.
It was worth the $5.
Aye, it's not an offer, it's a threat. So you will give us a threat.
See, it just got so much potential. It just feels like a lot more earthy, as you would say, if it comes to Scotland.
Maybe one day, mate. Maybe one day. You just never know. If we talk it into existence enough, it might just one of these days happen.
Oh, actually, again, I'm just going right on. Did you see the talk into existence? There was a video come out today of Will Howard with the Steelers. Basically, before everyone, let it be the Steelers, let it be the Steelers, let it be the Steelers, and then lo and behold, the Steelers phone. It's a great video. You need to check it out.
Aye. There's a couple of ones like that. The other, what was it? The Eagles. Then they drafted a QB as well, and he was like, there's photographs of him in an Eagles jersey, like surrounded like his whole family were Eagles fans. I love it when you get a player who's like genuinely like been a fan since they were a kid, and they get to live that dream and actually get drafted by the team that they support. I mean, that's like, stuff of dreams. Incredible.
No, definitely.
So,
because it's my favourite part of, or not my favourite part, I love the draft because the excitement of it, because every team is full of hope of that point about how great they've done. But it's the videos afterwards. You can't help it, bloody somebody's cutting onions in this room when you see some of the videos and stuff like that.
100%.
Brilliant. And then no more so than obviously Big Derek Harmon, obviously when he was drafted in the first round by the Pittsburgh Steelers. His mum sadly obviously passed away just a few hours later. I
think literally it was just he like got the phone call and then was like straight to the hospital to tell her. Just unbelievable. Like if there's one guy in that draft that I think every single fan of every team is rooting for to do well, it's Derek Harmon, 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
Want to see him do really well. Steelers is a great fit for him as well. Like from a footballing point of view,
100%.
That is a great landing spot as well. So, no, absolute best of luck to him.
Yeah, but as I say, that's the draft done for another year. I
know. Now we get to speculate, and there's all the free agent pickup, undrafted free agents. So much to still have a blather about and have a chat to. I'm sure we'll follow up in this with more follow up. The next podcast. This is us. We're getting back into the swing of things. We've had our post Super Bowl wee breather. Thanks very much for blathering with us, Danny. I've really enjoyed it. It's been good. It's good to get back into this again.
Oh, definitely.
100%. But
it's a fun part of the year as well. You don't need to take everything so seriously. And have a bit of fun and a laugh about it.
I'm learning about it as well as I go along. Like I like coming on here because I feel like I get a wee education as well every time I come on and chat about these things. So
no, when I'm on, you're learning off me. But we'll try to have a laugh anyway.
Correct. Anyway, we'll wrap up there. And
just before you go, my man, as I think, since if people are listening, I think you need to tell us what your plans are for this weekend then.
Okay. So our plans this weekend, there are a few guys away this weekend. We've got Kev and Scuds, who you've obviously guys will be familiar with from being on the podcast. It's Kev's stag weekend this weekend. We're off to Germany. So poor Kev, I don't know what he has got in store, and we'll be interested to see how that goes.
Right. So the pod needs some, good social content and family-friendly content. So your mission, right, is to set them up for a mini combine, right? Just to see after how many steins he can actually do like a 40-yard dash. I want to see a 3-cone drill. I want to see his vertical jump, right? So that's your mission for this. Try not get arrested, right? We don't want to bring this good podcast's name into disrepute with your antics.
Indeed.
So, So no, have a great time. And how do you say go Vikes in German?
I'll need to have a think. Anyway, it's been amazing to talk ball. Cannot wait to catch up with you again. And we will catch up with you all post-draft on our next show. Until then, thank you so much, everybody, for watching, for listening. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. You can get us on all the usual stuff, YouTube, X, you name it, Irn-Cru. And from myself and Danny, thank you very much, and we'll catch you again soon.
Peace.